I'm Mel Stewart, and this is the SwimSwam podcast. Joining me today, we got a superstar. We got 3-time Commonwealth champion, 16-time European champion, 8-time world champion, 3-time Olympic champion, 5-time Olympic medalist. Today, we have the man, the myth, the legend. He's a star the world over. You might know his name. Today, we got Adam Peaty. How you doing, buddy?
I'm good. I'm very good, actually. That voice is very soothing. I think I need that after every race, just to calm me down.
I'm ready to quit my job and just be the commentator of your life. I'll just stand about 5 feet back from you with a little bullhorn. He's walking down the street. he's out now. He's flexing. He's going to flex, ladies and gentlemen. He might not flex for another 2 minutes, but it's coming up. And I could do that for you.
No, yeah, sounds good.
That's good. There's a lot of things I want to get into. But before we get into it, I have to say this. It's there's something that I love and appreciate is that British swimming has come into its own. British swimming is respected the world over. And the stars of British swimming are as big as stars, on the island as they are in the United States. And that's something that I'm 53 years old. That's something that I didn't know would ever really be the case. I'm surprised I've arrived at this point in time and I'm witnessing this, but I'm happy it's happening. Do you think about how well you guys have performed and the influence you have on a global basis?
I mean, as an athlete, it's something that is, especially as you get older, I think you have the perception towards the impact on your community firstly, the impact on your kind of national country, the impact in your kind of continent, and then in the world. And obviously, as you get more successful, hopefully that impact gets wider. You have a further reach, and you inspire more people, and your kind of name goes and bounces off all corners of the world, right? So, but it's not enough. For me, it's not something I've chased. It's I chase the performance, I chase the medals, I chase the wins, and then that is obviously a kind of a factor that is the byproduct of that. So, yeah, being big in America, I guess, is really good because that is obviously sport in general is just crazy out there, and we obviously have Premier League here, which is absolutely huge, but sport in America, America is the home of sport, right, and entertainment. So. I mean, it's always a good thing to have that. But yeah, British swimming has come a long way. In 2014, when I first got my international gold medal, when I beat Cameron in the 100 meter at Commonwealth Games, I can remember that like literally day and night. I can remember that race, coming back at him and then touching. And I thought that was like, what, this is going to be the best moment of my career. This is absolutely incredible. I thought, I got lucky, or he had a bad race. And then I backed it up and then went to Europeans 2 weeks later and did that. And then it was like, okay, how do we get better for 2015? I literally won by like the smallest margin. And then, obviously into 2016, I was like, right, I'm gonna lose here if I don't really do something drastic. And, the rest is history really, but it's always good to, kind of look back and see how far we've come and where Team GB is going.
Well, we need to address this at the top of the podcast because this is recorded. This recording is going to be held for a period of time. So we're not going to tell them exactly when we're recording, but we're recording because there's a big announcement coming up. There is a tectonic shift in the swimwear industry. You've made a new partnership, and that new partnership is with Speedo. And when I found this out, I found it out by accident from one of the mid-level managers at Speedo. And I about lost my mind in a meeting and said, "What? That's not right. I don't think that's right. What's going on? Why haven't I been told this?" And the person who told me they looked a little bit scared because they realized who they were talking to. they're like, you can't say this to anyone. You signed with
Yeah.
Speedo. This is a big deal. Tell me about this partnership.
It's an incredible partnership. For me, I did start racing Speedo in 2014. Not start racing, sorry. I stopped racing in 2014, but all before that, I raced in all the Aqua Blades. I raced in all the Faskins, and I think it was the Laser 2 or the Laser 1 even. I used to race in on the 200 meter, and I used to have a really good 200 meter when I used to race in that. And I haven't really done 200 meters since that well anyway. So the it's that kind of partnership for me is more about the long term now and how I kind of solidify my legacy. I am getting older. There's going to be a day where I've got to retire, and I want my legacy to be represented with the brands I also represent. And Speedo is a great one for me because we've got great kind of practices and great thoughts of how we can improve the sport, how we can improve our performance together. Have we got another shot at the world record? I believe so, because for me, I wouldn't be training, I wouldn't be racing if I didn't have another shot at the world record. So yeah, it's incredibly exciting, and I can't wait to kind of get rolling, getting into the suits, and start racing really.
Speedo has the full nitro. They've got so much speed and buffness. They've got Dressel on one side of the world. They've got you on the other side of the world. This is like too much. This is too much star. It almost made my head explode. Is there any? Are you guys gonna pair up? Is there going to be a Speedo relay? We got half of us. Speedo could make an amazing relay. There should be a Speedo relay.
We could break the world. We could easily break the world record in the medleys. Yeah, definitely. I wouldn't. Yes. Yeah, I wouldn't even say it would be that hard. It would be quite easy, I think. Yeah, because then you would also have you'd have like I don't know. Imagine that. I think that should be done. Even if it doesn't count, it should just be good. Like straight after World Champs or straight after Olympics, go for the attempt. That'd be pretty cool.
I would like to see it. I'd like to see some exhibition swims at least. Certainly short course meters, just for fun. But that has to be done. You have the power to make that happen. As swim fans, we expect you to weigh in with your influence and make this happen. Do we have a commitment from you? We're putting you on the
Maybe
spot.
Not short course. I'll give you my commitment. Definitely long course.
I know I have to. There's a lot of things I want to talk about, but I do have to ask this. I asked a lot of elites, and they all give interesting answers. And it's a little bit arrogant. But it's something that's always so. If certain swimmers can swim in a short pool, and certain swimmers can swim in a long pool, and if you can't swim in the long pool, are you an elite swimmer?
Very difficult, because how much of a variable are we talking? Because we're saying can't swim as in we don't make a final, or don't make a semi-final, or don't even make it to the World Champs.
Podium. We're talking podium. We're talking legend.
I believe, I think top 16 is definitely elite. Anything after that is, it's still elite, but you top 16 in the world in one event. It's not like other sports in tennis, for example. If you're playing in the men's, that is one event. In swimming, we've got multiple events, right? So you potentially got hundreds and hundreds of elite swimmers. So I think top 16 is a very good marker to say that you're elite in the world. Top 8 is, very, very elite. And then top 3 is, you're one of the best in the world at that event. So, yeah, I mean, short course has always got one of those things, right? Because, especially in GB, we don't really take it that serious. I don't know why, because I love training yards. I loved racing yards, practicing racing yards. And in Florida when we were out there in 2019. And, it is good. I can see why people love it. But for me on the short course, it's just like, I can't get up to speed, man. Like, I just want to let my stroke roam. I just want to run free. And I can't do that short course, because as soon as I've done 3 strokes, I'm at the wall. I'm like, hold on a minute. How can I get 96 kilogram across this wall as fast as I can and back off the wall to take another 4 strokes? It's just like, I'd rather just have nothing in the way, dive in. Who's the fastest swimmer to 50 meters without any breaks? And it's like, okay, let's end this here, because I'm going to get carried away. it's like doing a 100-meter sprint at the Olympics and touching the floor at 50 meters and turning it back. It's like, it doesn't make sense, you know? So I don't know. I think it's two different sports. I think it's two different sports. You've rattled me there. I don't know why am I even rattled? I don't even know. But I think it is two different sports.
I'm gonna put a nice little bow on this conversation. Many thanks for that response. I think that's one of the best responses we've ever had on the podcast. I have to drop it on the superstars. But here's the deal. It is for kids out there that are listening. It's we would always like to encourage developing swimmers to bring the grit to their training and be able to have the body position and core strength to swim in the 50-meter Olympic size pool. We want you to attain that sort of mind body connection and power, because that's really the test of a great swimmer. But we do love the short pool too. So swimming in the short pool is fun.
Yeah.
All right. I'm just putting it in context. I don't know if you have anything to add to that. I just wanted to talk to the kids because I try to put a lead.
Okay. I've had about a minute to think about what I've said, and I'm not sorry for what I've said, but Olympics is the Olympics, and it's 50 meters. That's the one that everyone wants to matter, and everyone would trade absolutely every single medal, no matter how many you've won, to win one gold of them, because the value of an Olympic gold is huge. And we're not talking sponsorships. We're not talking just, the kind of external things that some people may do it for. We're talking about internal kind of motivation and, goals, but also it's a pinnacle. It's a pinnacle of our sport. And I think 25-meter short course would have a very, very hard time replacing that prestigious thing that's been happening for 120, 100 something years. So that's where I stand.
And we respect your position. And it's you have 15 of the top 20 performances. I think maybe the 14th and 15th are the same time. But 15 of the top 20 performances in history. That's a very, very big flex. It's you're starting to paint out corners of history and ownership and that's got to feel good. That's got to feel that everybody. I'll tell you this: as somebody, you're still swimming, but as somebody, when you have an elite career and you retire and you're a world champion, you're an Olympic champion, you do count the years that you have that world record. You do count the time. You do count the performances. I slipped off the top 50 performances in the 200 butterfly, and I'm not saying I cried, personally in the dark shadows of my own home, but there was a little bit of mourning, and it seems like that you are thinking about your place in the sport because you've been so dominant, and this might be a nice dovetail into Project Immortal. A lot of people are aware of Project Immortal, but I'd like for you to unpack it and explain Project Immortal to me here.
I don't think there's much to unpack. By definition, is Immortal is something that's pretty much can't die. It's there forever, in simple terms anyway. So for me in sport, it's a crazy one because obviously everyone works hard, especially at this elite level. Everyone knows how to work hard. Everyone knows how to do all this and eat good and sleep good. And there's a very, very minor difference between the actual training. And that's where mindset comes in. Mindset is completely different. And that will make the Immortal time, I believe. But for me, I don't see the point in doing all that and dedicating all that and sacrificing so much. And having such a hard journey some days, and to stick around for a month or a year, or I want to be someone that's gone, oh, you know what, he's completely committed himself to his craft every single day, and he's become a world record holder because he's earned it, and he stayed there because he's earned that every day since. And that's a very hard one because I literally had this conversation with Mel this morning, and she was like, you've tasted the good life, you've tasted the comfort, right? Hopefully people on this podcast listening know what comfort tastes like. it's the glass of wine with your meal, the going to bed whatever time you want, not having to have to worry about anything. But have too much of that, and you will lose the hunger. You will lose the thing which makes you a gold winner, a world record holder, and a world record smasher. Even more importantly, so it's a very hard one to have. And Project Immortal for me is keeping me in the sport because I do believe, like I said at the start, that there is something in me that knows I can go faster. And there's something that deep down I know and I believe it. And if I didn't, I wouldn't be here anymore. I would have retired whenever I stopped believing that. So I'm looking forward to seeing where those kind of 0.1s or 0.3s are going to come from. But Project Immortal is something that is never going to die and is going to be incredibly hard to break, and going to be hopefully one of those world records where people go, it's going to take a while, or for a next person to come along and break it.
Project Immortal, I love the concept. I love the fact that you're someone who's been so dominant in your event, and you're showing. It gets fans excited. I'm a fan at the end of the day, but it gets kids excited. But you're teaching kids how they can be great, and how to focus your mind. And that's it. There's when I was a child, I used to have this poster. It was in the 1970s, and this poster was larger than I was, and it was of Mark Spitz. He won 7 Olympic medals in 1972, but I lived and breathed to hear everything he ever had to say about his goal setting and his and the way he approached what he was doing and how he approached that one performance in 1972. And there are kids out there, and they're following you, and they've got.
See, I used to do the same.
Oh yeah,
I used to do the same. I used to read a lot, especially on Fort. That what did he do after a heat? How did he become better in a semi? How did he become better in a final? And I still remember reading one interview. I can't remember where it was from, but basically he was talking about the mindset of staying neutral. And that is, an incredibly important piece to me, because I was wasting so much energy of what ifs. And I was like, hold on a minute. All I have to do is stay neutral. I don't have to think about the good stuff. I don't have to think about the bad stuff. Stay neutral until you're back at the pool. Then we can work on those two things. So that's why mindset is so important. And as you said, that for me, yes, I do it through my own clinics. And I believe that the mind is the athlete. The body is literally simply the means of the athlete. This is the driver here. So if we teach kids how to process this and how to have calm in the chaos, and how to be better athletes and better people, give back to the sport as well, I think swimming's in a good place.
It's just out of curiosity, do you have something when if you're talking to a kid 10 years old and they want to be you, and you're trying to give them that one piece of advice that it's not in the pool, just about their head. You're like, this is the one thing that you can do that's going to make you better. This is the one way to prepare yourself mentally to race. Do you have what's that bit of advice from Adam Peaty?
It's difficult because when I was that age, I think I would have said, work hard. That's a foundation for many, many things in life. I think, I know you can't get anywhere without the hard work, but they know that. So it's a waste of time to tell them that. I'd say if it's not too advanced, depending on, where the 10-year-old is, because every 10-year-old's different, I would say look after your habits. Mind your habits. And someone listening right now, like, what do you mean by that? I'd say that everything you do in a day, we've got so many habits in the day which are autonomous that we don't even have to think about it, but digest every single one. Why am I doing this? Why am I doing that? Why am I choosing the cookie over that? Why am I doing that? And if you start to digest these habits and go, okay, is this making me a good athlete? Is it making me a great athlete? Or is it making me one of the best in the world? Those habits are the ones which will make the difference. Because it's almost binary. And I did an interview a long, long time ago, and it still creeps up now, that I say that every single decision I make in a day is either going to make me slower or it's going to make me faster. And that's the pursuit of gold. That's the pursuit of excellence, that, you've got to treat winning like that. You've got to, is this nap going to make me faster, or is it going out and having fun going to make me faster? And some days, it could be one or the other, just depending on where my serotonin levels are at. So it's, it's a very, very, very complex thing. But for a 10-year-old, I think it's just have fun, find the fun, and then you can work on the fun, work around the fun, work hard around that. And that's something Mel's, been almost iconic at, that she knew when we were broken. So she would go out and play rounders. Don't know if you know what a rounders is, America, but it's basically like baseball, but a really small circuit. So yeah, we'll just do that, and that would be our gym session. So it's like, and we'll be faster for it because we're more happy and we'll be building a team together. So, leadership is good as well. Good leadership is very important for that age.
It is, in terms of the coaching profession, it seems like it's male dominated, and it's male dominated almost all over the world. In the United States, I talk from that perspective because we're trying to, it's close to home, but we don't have a lot of elite women coaches. They coach a lot of elites. If you talk to a lot of Olympic champions, they were coached by a woman in their formative years and their age group years. But then they went on to a man in college and in their professional life. That's not been your experience. You've been with male the entire time. It's
yeah.
Talk to me about that, because I'm fascinated by the woman that I love in most of my life, the one who taught me how to swim and coached me until I was 13, Frankie Ann Bell. I when I look at your career, I wonder what would have happened if I'd stayed with Frankie for an entire career, and I think it would have gone well.
Well, yeah, I mean, when I was an age grouper, I met Mel at 14. So before that, I had two male coaches and a female coach before that. But when I met Mel, there's obviously something very different about her. Her charisma is just like, it'd be very, very hard to beat Mel's charisma and just professionalism, but also friendliness. So already there, you've got a great foundation for a coach. I mean, it's very, very hard because I can't see that perspective because I'm a male. It's very hard to see. But I can see it from my perspective that, say if I was having a bad day and, when I was a teenager, I was quite adolescent. I wouldn't really, I didn't really, I swore a lot basically. And I had quite a temper on me, which is why sport was a great way for me to kind of channel all that and get used to, build like almost an emotional intelligence. But Mel she was just great, because if I told her to, if I swore at her, she would swear back a little bit, but then she'd be like, okay, that's fine. And, I've got good parents, and they'd make me ring her and I'd say, sorry, Mel, I can't remember. I'll see you tomorrow, bye. Basically put the phone down straight away because I'd be embarrassed to say sorry to her. But women have a very different way of dealing with problems than men do. If I swore at a male coach at that age, would I ever have gone back to swimming? Because I'd be like, my stubbornness and my pride would have been too hard to swallow. I don't know. But Mel has always found a way to say sorry. We never, ever, ever kind of rest on our quarrels. We never leave an argument there. We sort it out straight away. And they rarely happen now, but when they do and when we clash, because it's human nature, if you're working with someone for a long time, you're going to clash now and then. But making sure that doesn't stay part of the scenario. So I can't tell you why, there's so many men in the sport and so little women. Maybe it's something to do with that there is too many men in the sport and not many women, and many women don't look at it as a career path, or there's not many inspiring people for them to to take it up. I don't know. But it's obviously something that needs to be better at the end of the day. And does there need to be government funding in each country aside for that, and making sure that pathway is accessible as well? So there's so many variables, right?
I wanted to ask you about her, because I think that I'm not saying that if you're a coach and you've had success in back and free, that you're not as good a coach, but you've got to know what you're doing in breaststroke. Breaststroke it's all underwater. Something good. It's like a golf swing. If something's off, you're
That is
you're
so
in trouble.
true.
You're in trouble. Breaststroke.
I didn't even think about it like that. But that is so true.
I roomed with breaststrokers my whole life. My Olympic roommate was Mike Berriman. He won gold in the 200 breast. I roomed in college. I was always friends with breaststrokers. So what I'm telling you, Adam, is I love you because I know that butterfly wouldn't exist because breaststroke, but butterfly comes out of breaststroke. That's a tangent. I'm just kidding. But I do think that breaststroke is their breaststrokers are different. You're a different animal. It almost seems like you have to be more focused and the coaching has to be on point. Do you ever sit back and think to yourself, I'm a breaststroker and I'm a unique individual and it's different from fly and backstroke and freestyle in these ways?
Yeah, and I think, to be fair, that makes the stroke harder because, as you said, if one thing is off, let's say a championship. If one thing's off, then it could cost you the championship. So staying on top of the crown is, incredibly hard on breaststroke because there's so many things that could go wrong. So many things around timing, so many things around feel, speed, power, strength, body weight. Where your hands are, where your hips are. So these are things we're constantly trying to, get better. And sometimes some things fall short. So you're like, how do I get back up there? But yeah, it's a tough stroke. It is a tough stroke to do. I do like my freestyle. I'm not very good at it, but I do like my threshold on freestyle. We'll do a pretty much majority of our threshold on freestyle actually, because breaststroke just gets the heart rate too high. But it's one of the things that I've always had a connection with. But it's almost like an open communication. If I picked up a phone to the stroke, I know it sounds silly, but that's the one I can have a conversation with because I know exactly where my body is at pretty much all times. Whereas the others I just don't. Backstroke I sink. Fly, I have no idea what I'm doing. And then freestyle, yeah, I've got a bit of an idea. But breaststroke's been one of those, as that saying goes, that you don't choose the stroke, the stroke chooses you. So, yeah.
You said you would swim freestyle. You swim freestyle when you're warming up, I'm sure when you're just doing conditioning. But you said you don't do breaststroke. Your heart rate gets too high. So when you're getting after it, when you are swimming that stroke that is accomplished and has this piece of our history in the sport, it sounds like you're swimming fast. Explain that to me.
Yeah, I mean, Mel won't really let me do any threshold on breaststroke, or she won't let me do, we do technique-based stuff. But even then, if you're doing 200s, 2 kicks, 1 pull, which is, meant to be an easy session, that turns out to be a hard session because you're trying to grip with 95, 96 kilogram each stroke. And it's one, it's heavy, and two, that if you do too much of it, it's going to slow the mechanics down as well. So, yeah, I mean, it is just a hard stroke. I can't say anything more. It's just a hard stroke that you gotta deal with. You gotta get on with it. We do one of my favorite sets is we do a threshold set, and it's like a 75 free, 25 breast, and that's perfect because you're absolutely done by the 75 meter because you're maxing it out pretty much, and you do another 25 breast to finish off the back end, and you do that multiple times. That's one of my favorite sets to do. Threshold is probably my favorite zone to kind of work anyway because it's just continuous, long and hard. But I enjoy that. I can beat Jimmy. If you listen to this, I can beat him on pool paddles freestyle easily.
No, you give us more. We want to hear that. This is the kind of information that our audience loves to know.
Trust me, we'll get a video. Next holding camp, I probably won't use it on a holding camp because I'll be on taper. But okay, when can we do it? If we finish around the same time at trials, we'll do one. But pull paddles, because he will kick his legs, I know he will. But proper pull paddles, I'm good. I'm really good at that. I don't want to sound arrogant or anything, but that's my forte on freestyle.
I'm emotionally scarred by people who would put on paddles and just leave me behind. Like I'm getting a little bit sweaty because we'd do a paddle set and people put on paddles and I just felt anemic and weak. And some people put on paddles and then just go. The fact that you can put on paddles and go makes me a little bit jealous.
Yeah, I love paddles though. Love it.
We're on the topic of jealousy. Let's just lay it out there. When people talk about, having the specimen of the body, the swimmer body. It is, you have to be honest and be fair and say that breaststrokers probably have the best balance and physical specimen of a body. The breaststroker is aesthetically the right body type in terms, if you would like to be a Speedo model. Yes or no? Agree or disagree?
Well, I don't know. Well, I don't know. It's a hard one. I can't shoot down my new co-ambassadors like that, can I? Can't shoot down Dressel like that, and I can't shoot down Dunks or anyone else. So I don't know. I think breaststrokers we have big chests, we have big arms, because we have to attack the water and pretty much beat the water around it. And when you're shifting that much muscle, of course you're going to have more muscle to shift it. So you do get that.
It's I'm making a joke, but it's true. It's really true. And as a point of fact, Caeleb Dressel is a breaststroker. He's never done it. He's never done it long course.
That is true. That's true.
He
nearly beat me actually at ISL. So yeah, that is okay. I know it's a joke, but yeah, I agree.
Well, I'm all of this conversation hasn't really been, I haven't thought about our audience or our fans. It's really just been for me. I just wanted to have a conversation with you. I wanted to get to know Adam Peaty and have my moment with Adam Peaty. But I do want to bring it back to the Speedo partnership and just, I think that's it's an iconic brand. This company does it well. Something that I do. I was a Speedo athlete after, during my career, and it was you're checking the box. It's like you want it. You want to get a world record. You want an Olympic. You want your Olympic gold medal. You want to hit those milestones. But another box was like, I want to be a Speedo athlete. And the fact that you are in the Speedo family, it just feels right. It's so.
It does feel good. It does feel very good. I mean, I live 15 minutes away from one of the headquarters as well, so it's very, very easy to have R&D, have access to new products, and help break these world records, because we are looking at the 0.1% unfortunately now, but those 0.1% are incredibly hard to find. It's like you've exhausted the whole diamond mine because you've looked at all these diamonds, you've mined them all, and we're just trying to find the last few now. But finding the last few may take more effort than having the whole mine dug out. So yeah, I mean, Speedo for me is going to make that happen. And having the right suit is very important to any swimmer. Having the right compression, because some people like compression, some people don't. Some people like range, some people don't. Some people like support, some people don't. It's a very personal journey. But I think Speedo, with both their suits as well, the Intent and Novella as well, so I'll be able to find the perfect one for me, and we'll get cracking on these world records hopefully, and we'll see. But yeah, I mean, it's been an incredible journey so far. It's been an amazing, and it's great to obviously partner with Speedo and see where we can go.
In terms of when we had the Adam Peaty conversation, because Speedo let it slip in one of our we have monthly meetings where they catch me up on what's going on. Speedo is such a great company when we have to have monthly meetings so that I know what's going on and what's coming down the road, because they're really a great media company. They produce a lot of great narratives. So they let it slip about you. And when we had this long conversation about you, they were excited internally, and they were excited. They're like, he's a different kind of guy, and sustainability it really matters to him. He wants athletes to be able to have the opportunity to swim no matter their economic situation. And they were very excited about that. Talk to me a little bit about that. Talk to me about what that means to you, and what that means to you to be with a company that's supportive of initiatives like that.
Well, I think like any company you work with, it should be almost like a mirror image, not an exact mirror image, but your kind of values, your morals, and your product should align with each other. Integrity, basically. And Speedo, when we first had these conversations, it was like, this is really important to me. reaching into the next generation is incredibly important, because there's no point having one of the most successful British swimming teams ever to exist. It is the most successful team to ever exist. And we're just going to flush that down the toilet because we haven't invested or taught the next generation how to carry that through. So for me, that's very important. Secondly, making sure that that is accessible to as many people as possible from any background, from any community, and making sure that, the funding is there, the support is there, the education is there, and making sure that you don't fall through the gaps. And then thirdly is sustainability, that, one, we have one planet, firstly, but, the amount of packaging in this world is just crazy, absolutely crazy. So making sure that we're having a plan around that, around old race suits as well. Why do we, I know it's different as elite athletes because, they're a consumable, really, that, you wear them 3-4 times and then you pass them along. But let's say I'm a normal swimmer, haven't made it to the elite stage yet. What do I do with that suit after? Can we get it resprayed, or can we send a suit to a third world country where they can, other people can race with them? So I think there's so many kind of things you can do and making the sport sustainable, because it's not really a case of should we, it's we have to now. So it's not a kind of a negotiable thing, and making sure that impact, is part of my legacy as well. And, Speedo, is ticking all those boxes. Oh, and number 4 is obviously performance, making sure that we do have some incredible races and incredible championships yet to come over the years that we're partnered.
You've got a busy summer, and I don't know. Can you talk about what you're doing this? I mean, and talking to a lot of elite athletes this year, after we're hopefully coming out of a pandemic, they seem like they're overwhelmed, and they're in managing their mental health, managing their physical health. They're looking at this year, and it seems very daunting. How are you managing this busy schedule this year? What's happening in your life?
Oh, I took 5 months off because I foresaw it. I foresaw the problems that would arise. Kind of getting into Olympics was a very big challenge, to be honest. That I don't think many people see it from the outside. Only athletes who have been through it will, kind of see it, or, have kind of some understanding of how the sport works. But going into the Olympics where you don't race abroad, you don't train abroad, you just stay at home, it's one of the most hardest things. And I don't want to sound like I'm, I need all these things to perform. I perform anywhere, anytime, but it makes the journey a little bit harder when you don't have all these nice things along the way. So we couldn't do any of that. And I know some countries were getting away with it. I'm not sure how, but they were. But our country was very, very strict, so we couldn't do anything. Our only opportunity to race abroad was Europeans. And then we came off that. It was the Olympics pretty much by then. So we did the Olympics, and I was like, you know what, that just cost me so much to do that and get to that point. So I was like, okay, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do a bit of dancing. I'm going to chill out here and just do all this, and then get to the end of the year, hopefully renewed. And I did, and I came back in January. I've been back, like, this is my 8th week back really in proper training. So I'm happy where I'm at now, and I've got a second wind. I found a new kind of motivation. There's a lot of things we need to work on, but that's exciting. That's just part of the past. That's part of, that's what elite athletes get paid for. These problems that we have, where we have, like, I'm carrying too much weight, I'm carrying too much muscle. I've got to do this. I've got to bench this. I've got to get all these numbers. Yes, it is mental health, and yes, it is. There is a certain amount of energy you have for a certain thing where before you get burnt out. But it's also my job to do that better than anyone else in the world. So there's a very fine balance that I couldn't just say no every time I felt bad or didn't feel like it was up to the challenge, because I wouldn't have been an Olympic champion. There's been months on end where I've woke up and said no, but I still do it because that's what it takes. Because if I'm not going to do it, someone else is going to do it. So there is a fine balance. But yeah, I mean, it is a busy year. We've got World Championships in Budapest, Commonwealth Games in Birmingham, Europeans in Rome, and I'm not doing anything else after that. I don't think, not yet, not in my head. But those are the 3 hitters. They're the 3 championships I really want to hit, and see how we do when we get there.
I think that's enough performing. for this calendar year. I have to ask you this. Dancing with the Stars. You're always, every time an elite athlete participates on that show, you're always like a swimmer. You're like, oh man, they're representing us. They got to do it. And I just want to say, can they move? Do they have the moves? And you had the moves. I was proud. I showed it. I rolled over in bed and showed it. I was like, Peaty can dance. Showed it to my wife.
Yeah. That was hard. That was very, very hard. But that's why it's important. It is, on a serious note, it's important to challenge yourself. An athlete should, somewhere between their career, from starting to ending, do something different. Do something that challenges you. Do something that takes you out of your comfort zone, whether it's in front of 10 million people at home on TV, or whether it's on yourself, speaking in front of people, or doing something that you haven't ever tried. It's so important for athletes to do this because it gives you a perspective that you may have not had. And you will hopefully avoid a little bit of burnout as well.
Thank you for this time. I would like to just end by saying that we didn't know who was going to be on the cover of our next magazine. We have our print SwimSwam magazine. And when I heard this news, other than my brain exploding, I realized that Adam Peaty is going to be the cover of the next SwimSwam magazine. That's going to come out. That lands.
Yes.
That lands everywhere. That lands everywhere. It's internationally in April. But so
that's the extra one. That's the extra one. So you want to be a world champion, you want to be an Olympic champion, you want to be a Speedo athlete, and you want to be on the front of the SwimSwam magazine, all in one. Done it. I can retire now. It's all good.
You've been listening to the SwimSwam podcast. Stay tuned for new episodes every week. You can take SwimSwam podcast on the go by subscribing on your favorite podcast platform. Look for links in the description below, and be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel for more videos as well.